The vast majority of New Orleans, Louisiana is underwater. Tens of thousands of homes and businesses are beyond repair. We are dealing with one of the worst natural disasters in our nation's history.
Yeah, it's chilling now to hear that sound. It's been 20 years since Hurricane Katrina slammed into the Gulf Coast. Katrina's historic storm surge caused catastrophic levee and floodwall failures in New Orleans. With floodwaters reaching depths of up to 10 feet in much of the city, it took weeks for that water to recede. More than 1,400 lives were lost. Total damages exceeded $200 billion. And 2 decades later, the scars, both physical and emotional, still linger there in parts of the Bayou State. Katrina didn't just test the emergency response, it forced a reckoning with how we prepare, respond, and rebuild after disasters, especially ones of that magnitude. The hard lessons of Katrina have led to stronger infrastructure, smarter planning, and an overall more resilient state of Louisiana. And right now, we want to bring in the governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry. Governor Landry, it's great to have you back with us on Fox Weather. I remember the last time we spoke was back in January. There was almost a foot of snow on the ground in the Big Easy. I was still trying to wrap my mind around how that was even possible.
You think you were trying to wrap your mind around it? You should have seen me. I was trying to figure out. Thank God for Governor Huckabee. She sent some snowplows down because it's not like Louisiana has a whole bunch of functioning snowplows or a snowplow laying around. But
yeah,
we have seen some wicked, crazy weather in Louisiana.
Yeah, you were a busy man then. I remember. Governor, you've lived a lifetime of service to your home state. National Guard, law enforcement, attorney general, now governor. We know it was long before your time in office, but what was your personal experience like with Hurricane Katrina? Did it impact how you lead the state now?
Well, you know, my first experience with a major hurricane actually went back to Hurricane Andrew, which was like 1990, 1991, when I was in the National Guard and serving as a sheriff's deputy at that time. But certainly Louisiana and the world had never seen anything like the impact of Hurricane Katrina when it came ashore. I can remember I went down to Plaquemines Parish and worked, both my brother-in-law and myself, down there volunteering, helping people, working with people, driving airboats. I mean, the amount of water that inundated that area was the like of which we had never, ever seen. I mean, it's video and pictures and a remembrance that you never want to see again in a major city. I think it became a monumental pivoting point for the country on how not to respond to natural disasters by the federal government, and so many lessons learned by both the federal government and the state of Louisiana.
Yeah, and since Katrina, your state has made massive investments in hurricane protection, most notably the flooding risk reduction system for the city of New Orleans. That was built in the aftermath of Katrina. From your perspective, how transformative have some of these projects been in making your coastline, your cities, safer, more resilient to tropical weather?
Well, it has created a tremendous amount of resiliency in and around the city of New Orleans and along Louisiana's Gulf Coast. Because remember, Katrina came in, and then 30 days later, Rita came in on the other side of the state. And so I think the resiliency along the coast has continued to build as we've been impacted by storm after storm. But in the city of New Orleans, you got to remember, we lost almost 350,000 people migrated out of the city of New Orleans, out of Louisiana. And right now, Louisiana is experiencing one of the greatest comeback stories. I mean, think about what New Orleans has done just this year. You know, from the devastation and horror of a terrorist attack on January 1, we went back and put a Sugar Bowl on, a Super Bowl, Mardi Gras. We just announced Live Golf is coming to New Orleans next year over at City Park. We're seeing a record amount of economic opportunity in and around not only the city of New Orleans, but the state of Louisiana. And so things are great. And so I think when you look back and you looked at lessons learned from Hurricane Katrina since that time, Louisiana right now is really open to people, and we're starting to see people come back to the state. That's the greatest comeback story. I think that's what makes this 20th year anniversary of Katrina a very bright spot looking back on a dark past.
Yeah, I did want to ask you more about that. I should give you, we mentioned it earlier on, that Super Bowl was like 10 days after what I would describe as the most bizarre snowstorm we've covered here on Fox Weather. So credit to those crews getting ready for that. But as you said, these were some painful lessons learned. And you pointed out the population of New Orleans was literally halved by this storm. Those numbers are recovering quickly, but they're not back to those pre-storm levels. What has the region changed? How has it changed over the past 20 years? Have you seen in the short term an acceleration of that bounce back?
Look, I think the region has struggled over those 20 years, but every year, block by block, brick by brick, New Orleans is coming back. I mean, look, we worked, when I became governor, New Orleans was one of the top 10 most dangerous cities in the world. We brought the state police in. We worked real hard. As you said, honestly, I remember they were literally ice skating on Bourbon Street 10 days before the Super Bowl. It literally gave me a panic attack. But again, I think that the city of New Orleans is one of those cities that is the most resilient city. The people that are there are just unbelievable. Like, you can throw anything at them, and they're like, just bring it on, but we're going to be back. And the great thing right now is that it is a comeback story. There are so many great things happening in and around the city of New Orleans. Look, Plaquemines Parish, which was ground zero for Hurricane Katrina, right now has the largest construction project going on in North America. Venture Global is building one of the largest LNG facilities down there. So I think there are so many great stories. And the question I would say is that they would not have happened had Katrina not come ashore, the devastation, the build back. All of those things were resiliency, right? Mm-hmm. And so through that dark cloud, there are great rays of sunshine.
Hey, Governor Landry, before we let you go, the resiliency that you're talking about for the folks that stayed, for the folks that came back to Louisiana, as you reflect back on this storm now 2 decades later, what's your message to those folks?
Look, you know, we continue to tell people that, guess what? Louisiana is experiencing one of the greatest comeback stories, and it's because of those people. It's because of the people that just brushed it up. I mean, look, it was a dark, dark day. It wasn't just a dark day. It was a dark week. It was months. It was years when New Orleans was building back better and stronger. But what I can tell you is that New Orleans is the gateway to Louisiana, and we've got great things going. And the people of Louisiana are some of the most hardest working, greatest people. They love people. They welcome people, and I got to tell you, on the 20th anniversary, I think that Louisiana's future is bright.
Yeah, some really good folks right there in Louisiana. Glad to hear about all these exciting things that are happening. We appreciate you taking the time this afternoon here on Fox Weather. That's the governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry. Thank you.
Thank you.